Hello, if you're a long-time viewer of this channel, you probably saw this environment of earlier last month, back in December. This is my art studio environment that I made. One of the questions I got was how I went about spreading all the detail throughout the entire scene. So you can see like sketchbooks and you can see paint buckets, paint brushes everywhere, all throughout the scene. And it's actually a fairly simple solution. So what we're going to do is I'm going to press F to go out here to where all the props are. These are all the small props that are littered throughout the scene. There's obviously like all these other props. These are the rest of the props that are in the scene. But if I go, there's some paintings over here, some doors, everything. But if I go back to these are the small props minus the bottles. We'll get to those in a second. Say I had this bottle right here. One of the first things I want to do is I want to make sure that everything has collision. So I'm going to go into here and I want to see my collision. So I'm gonna go simple collision. I can see that it does, it kind of suits it. If it doesn't, if your object doesn't have collision, one of the things you can do is go up here and there's a bunch of different options. You can do auto convex collision. That usually works sometimes, or you have different settings down here that you can fix things. One of the things I can recommend is for your simulation, what you can do is if you have a complex object and your simulation isn't working, there's a setting down here where collision complexity is set to project default. You can change that to use complex as simple. So there's two different types of collisions in Unreal. The first one is your simple collision, which is just kind of the bounds of the object. And then if we go up here is your complex collision, which is a lot more detailed. So what you can do for the simulation is change the setting to use complex as simple, which is what all these objects are set to at the moment. And then when you're done with the simulation and when you do all the steps I'm about to show you, you can change this back to project default. So when you play your game or you play your scene, you're using a lot less computationally expensive collision box. Uh, but one of the most but for this to work, you have to have everything has to have collision. So we're going to go back. We're going to go to our objects. I'm going to make sure they're all selected. So all my objects have collision. So first thing I'm going to do after that is I'm going to go over here to my details panel with all of them selected, and I'm going to type in physics. Now, physics is on right now. I turned it on for all of them. You're probably going to see it's set to off where there's no tick here. You just want to make sure that anything you want to simulate, you set to on. And then just to double check, there's a couple settings down here. Just to double check, you also want to go over here into your physics tab and you want to make sure that enable gravity is set on. It should be on because there's no little arrow, but it should be on by default. But you just want to make sure it is on just in case because you kind of need it for it to work here. So what we're gonna do now is physics is now on for all of these objects. I'm gonna tilt it kind of to make it just a little more interesting what's about to happen. But then so I'm gonna go up here and these are our play options. If I hit this button right now, if I hit the three buttons, it's selected viewport is selected, which means that there is a player start somewhere in the scene. And if I play this, it will play from the player start. So I'll show you what I mean. Player start is in the actual scene, so I don't want that. What I want, oh, oops. What I want is I want to not play the actual game or play whatever animations I have. I just want to simulate everything, simulate the physics, simulate anything that I've got going on. So what I can do up here is if I hit these three buttons again, right down here, there's just simulate. Now, if I pull the camera out, you can see what's about to happen. If I hit this and hit simulate. Now, anything that has physics is going to fall to the ground. It's going to, if I run it, if I stop this, it goes right back to where it was. Now, I can move this in any number of ways. I can simulate it, and it'll fall however I want. Now, you probably noticed, you're probably thinking, well, everything in here is, if I hit simulate, isn't moving. Nothing in here is moving. Everything is static. Now, so how to do that, how to lock everything in place is I'm going to get a little interesting angle here. I'm going to get something that's going to bounce in a cool way. So how do I get that? As I go up here and I hit simulate again, So everything bounced in a cool, funky way. It's all over the floor here. What I can do is I can go over here to my outliner. Any one of them that's highlighted, I can hit right click. And down here at the bottom, there's keep simulation changes, or I can hit the letter K. And that's exactly, I'm going to click that. Now, it's still running the simulation right now, but if I were to stop it, everything is locked exactly in place, and I can spin it around, but then I can also click individual objects and kind of reset their position if I don't like exactly where they fell. But yeah, it's very simple. It's very simple. It's very quick. All right, see you next one.